The target stopped breathing at exactly 300 hours, watched the life fade from the ambassador's eyes and felt nothing. He never felt anything. That was what made him perfect. He stepped over the body and moved through the shadows of the luxury station like smoke. 4 arms, each one capable of crushing steel, skin that could stop most bullets, eyes that saw in darkness and heat. The species was built for one purpose, killing, and was the best of them all. 847 confirmed eliminations. That was his record. No failures, no mistakes, no mercy. He reached his ship without being seen and entered the coordinates for the Syndicate station. The payment would arrive in his account within the hour. Another number added to a total he never spent. Money meant nothing to him. Purpose was all that mattered. The communication console blinked. A new contract opened the file. Target species human, age 34, occupation cargo hauler, location Epsilon mining colony, crime witnessed unauthorized termination on station Tailize 9, threat level minimal. Studied the image. The human looked ordinary, brown eyes, black hair, medium build. Humans were weak creatures, soft skin, slow reflexes, no natural weapons. They survived through numbers and luck, not strength. This would be quick. He set course for Epsilon Colony, 3 days' travel. The mining colony was a dusty rock on the edge of explored space. Small, poor, the kind of place people went when they had nowhere else to go. Ship landed in a public dock. No one looked twice. Assassins didn't draw attention. He found ship easily, an old cargo hauler called Morning Hope. The name was foolish. Hope was an emotion. Emotions made you weak. Tracked his target through the colony. The human followed a simple routine. Wake at 600, eat at the community hall, work on ship repairs, talk to other colonists, sleep at 2200, predictable, easy. On the third night made his move. He waited in the cargo bay of ship, silent, patient, invisible in the darkness. The door opened, walked in carrying a toolbox. He was alone, perfect. Stepped from the shadows, 4 arms ready. His presence filled the space with threat. Stopped, he saw, his eyes went wide. This was the moment they always ran or begged. Muscles tensed, ready to strike. But didn't run, he didn't beg. He looked at for a long moment, then slowly set down his toolbox. He sat on a cargo crate, he let out a long breath. "So they sent you," said quietly. Tilted his head. This was wrong. The human should be terrified. "I knew someone would come," continued. He reached into his jacket. Hands moved to his weapons, but only pulled out a flask. "I saw something I shouldn't have seen on Tailize 9. I reported it like a good citizen. Guess that was stupid." He took a drink from the flask, then held it out toward. "Want some? It's Earth whiskey, helps with the stress." Stared at the flask. No target had ever offered him a drink before. He didn't drink alcohol. His body processed it too efficiently to feel effects. But more than that, this whole situation was outside his training. "You will die tonight," said. His voice was deep, rough, he rarely spoke. "Yeah, I figured," said. He didn't sound afraid, just tired. "Can I ask you something first? How many people have you killed?" 847. "That's a lot." Took another drink. "Do you ever wonder if they deserved it, or do you just do what they tell you?" Felt something strange, a flicker of something in his mind. It disappeared quickly. "I serve the Syndicate, that is my purpose." "Is it your purpose or is it their purpose?" asked. He wasn't challenging, just asking like he was curious. No one had ever asked a question like that. Purpose was not something to question. Purpose was absolute. "You are delaying the inevitable," said. "Maybe," agreed. "But you've been following me for 3 days. If you wanted me dead immediately, I'd already be dead. So some part of you is thinking about this. That's human behavior, you know, thinking, questioning. It's what makes us weak, but also what makes us alive." "I am not human." "No, you're something much more dangerous," said. He smiled a little. It wasn't a happy smile. but you're here talking to me instead of killing me, so maybe you're more human than you think. Should have ended this. His mission was simple, one target, minimal threat. Yet he stood there listening to this weak human speak nonsense. Before he could decide, alarms blared throughout the colony. Red lights flashed. The colony's emergency system activated. Jumped up. That's the perimeter alarm, raiders. He grabbed his toolbox and ran toward the door. Followed, not sure why, they emerged into chaos. Colonists were running. Ships were trying to launch. And in the distance, enhanced vision saw them, raiders, 20 of them, armed and dangerous. The colony had maybe 40 people. Most were miners, not fighters. This would be a massacre. Ran toward the community hall where people were gathering, watched from a distance. The humans started shouting orders. Close the blast doors. Arm yourselves with whatever you can find. Protect the children. The raiders advanced fast, too fast. The colonists weren't ready. A group of raiders broke through the western perimeter. They headed straight for the community hall, grabbed a plasma cutter from a workbench. It was a tool, not a weapon, but he held it like he would fight anyway. Observed. This was not his concern. His contract was with, not the colony. The logical action was to wait until the raiders killed his target, then collect payment for opportunity elimination. But he kept watching, organized the miners into defensive positions. The human had no combat training, could see that. His stance was wrong, his weapon grip was inefficient, yet the other colonists followed him. They trusted him. The raiders reached the hall, fought with everything he had. The plasma cutter burned through one raider's armor, but there were too many. A blade slashed across his shoulder. He fell. A female colonist, young, maybe 20, screamed. Her name badge said Nara. She ran to help. A raider raised his weapon to kill them both. Moved. He didn't think about it. His body acted on instinct, but not the instinct to kill his target. A different instinct, one he didn't know he had. He crossed 50 meters in 3 seconds. His first strike crushed the raider's skull. His second and third arms grabbed 2 more raiders and threw them into walls hard enough to break bones. His fourth hand caught a blade meant for Nara's throat and snapped it. The raiders saw him and recognized death. They tried to fight back. It was useless. 47 seconds later, all 20 raiders were eliminated. Stood in the center of the carnage, covered in alien blood, breathing steady. The colonists stared at him in silence. Terror and confusion mixed on their faces. Pushed himself up, one hand pressed against his bleeding shoulder. He really looked at him. Thank you, said. Stared back. His contract was to kill this human. Instead, he had saved him. He had saved all of them. Why? What had changed? Why aren't you afraid of me? Asked. His voice came out rougher than intended. Smiled despite his pain. Because you've had 3 days to kill me and you're still here. That means part of you doesn't want to. The words hit like a physical blow. They opened something in his mind, a crack in the armor of his conditioning. And through that crack, a dangerous thought emerged. What if purpose wasn't absolute? What if he could choose? The thought terrified him more than any enemy ever had. Didn't leave the colony that night. He told himself it was tactical. He needed to observe the target more, understand the situation better, report accurate information to the syndicate. These were logical reasons. They were also lies. He found a dark corner in the maintenance sector and sat motionless, processing what had happened. He had violated his contract, saved the target instead of eliminating him, acted on instinct rather than orders. This was not how operated. This was not how he operated. His communication device blinked. The syndicate was requesting an update, stared at it for a long time before responding with a single word: delayed. He had never delayed before. Morning came to the colony, watched through a window. The human was at the medical station getting his shoulder treated. A doctor wrapped bandages around the wound. winced but didn't complain. Other colonists came by to check on him. They brought him food, thanked him for organizing the defense, called him a hero, deflected the praise, said everyone had fought, said they'd all survived together. He was uncomfortable with attention. After the medical check, returned to his ship, followed from the shadows. The human started working on repairs again like nothing had happened, like he hadn't almost died hours ago. "You can come inside," called out without turning around. "I know you're there." Froze, his stealth was perfect. How had the human detected him? "I can't see you," continued, still working on a panel. "But I can feel when I'm being watched. Survival instinct, I guess. Plus, after last night, I figured you'd stick around." Considered his options. He could leave, complete the mission, return to the syndicate, resume his purpose. But instead, he stepped into the cargo bay. Turned and smiled. Not an afraid smile, not a fake smile, just friendly. "Want to help? I need to recalibrate the stabilizers. Could use 4 hands, or well, you have 4 hands, so that works perfectly." "Why are you not afraid?" asked again. Set down his tools. "You saved my life. You saved everyone's lives. You could have killed me a dozen times by now. So either you're the worst assassin in the galaxy or something's changing in you. I'm betting on the second one." "I am the best assassin in the galaxy," said. It was a fact, not a boast. "Then definitely the second one." Picked up a wrench and tossed it to. "Come on, let's fix this ship." For the next 3 hours helped with repairs, explained each task, showed him how the systems worked, talked about his life, how he'd left Earth 12 years ago, how he'd lost his family to a plague, how he'd ended up hauling cargo across the galaxy. "It's not much of a life," admitted, tightening a bolt. "But it's mine. I get to choose where I go, who I help. That matters to me." "Choice," repeated the word. It felt strange in his mouth. "Yeah, freedom to choose your own path. Isn't that what everyone wants?" "I have purpose. Choice is unnecessary." "Is it your purpose, though? Or did someone else decide your purpose for you?" asked. The same question from last night. It bothered more the second time. Before he could answer, Nara appeared at the cargo bay entrance. The young woman from the fight. She looked nervous seeing but stepped inside anyway. "Some of us are making dinner at the community hall. You should come. You too," she glanced at, then quickly away. "We want to thank you both." Looked at, what do you say? Ever had a home-cooked meal? "I do not eat for pleasure, only for fuel." "That's the saddest thing I've ever heard," said. "Come on, you might surprise yourself." The community hall was filled with people. Long tables had been set up. Colonists were cooking various dishes from different worlds. The smell was overwhelming to enhance senses. Too many scents, too much noise, too much life. Guided him to a table. People stared but kept their distance. Understood. He radiated danger. It was in his design. Nara brought them plates of food, rice, vegetables, meat in some kind of sauce, ate with enthusiasm, looked at his plate with uncertainty. "Try the kimchi," said, pointing at fermented vegetables. "It's spicy, traditional Korean food, my grandmother's recipe." Picked up the food with his fingers, sniffed it. His biology analyzed the chemical composition instantly. No toxins, adequate. He placed it in his mouth. The flavor exploded across his tongue. Spicy, sour, complex. His brain didn't know how to process it. He'd eaten thousands of meals, but they'd all been flavorless ration bars designed for optimal nutrition. This was different. This had character. "Good, right," grinned. "It is acceptable," said. He took another bite and another. Laughed. It was a warm sound. Realized he'd never heard genuine laughter before. In his world, laughter was either mocking or fake. This was neither. Over the next 2 days shadowed, but it wasn't surveillance anymore. It was observation, learning. The human did small things. Helped an old man carry supplies. Taught some children how to repair electronics. mediated an argument between two miners over resource distribution. Had no special powers, no enhanced abilities. He was weak by galactic standards, yet people listened to him, trusted him, followed him. Why? On the third night, asked him. They were sitting on the colony's observation deck, looking at the stars, had insisted join him, said everyone needed to look at stars sometimes. Remember how big the universe was. Why do they follow you? Asked. Thought about it. I don't think they follow me. I think we just help each other. That's what people do, or should do anyway. In my experience, beings act for personal gain. Some do, agreed. But most people, if you give them a chance, they'll surprise you. They'll be kind, they'll help, they'll care. It's not weakness, it's what makes us civilized. The syndicate says emotions are weakness. The syndicate uses you as a tool, said bluntly. They don't want you to feel because feelings might make you question. Question who you kill. Question why. Question if there's more to life than being a weapon. The word struck deep, felt that crack in his mind widen. Questions flooded through. When had he last chosen anything? Had he ever chosen anything? Who was he beyond his function? I don't know how to be anything else, admitted. It was the most honest thing he'd ever said. That's okay, said. Learning who you are takes time. I'm still figuring it out myself. You are not afraid that I will complete my contract. I'm terrified, said simply, but I don't think you will. I think you're looking for a reason not to, and maybe I can help you find it. His communication device blinked. Urgent message. He opened it. His enhanced vision read the text in microseconds. A new assassin had been dispatched. His former partner, her contract, eliminate both and the compromised asset designated. What's wrong? Asked, seeing's posture change. They know I have failed, said. They are sending someone to finish both contracts. Can we run? She will find us, never fails. Neither did you until now, pointed out. That was true, had been perfect, but perfection was breaking, and he realized something that should have terrified him but instead felt like freedom. He didn't want to go back to being perfect, not if perfect meant being empty. We need to prepare, said. She will arrive in approximately 37 hours. Then we have 37 hours to figure out how to survive, stood up, together. Looked at the human, small, weak, fragile, yet somehow in 3 days this being had accomplished what nothing else in the galaxy had managed. He had made feel something. Why are you helping me? Asked. Smiled. Because everyone deserves a chance to choose who they want to be, even the galaxy's top killer, especially the galaxy's top killer. In that moment, understood, wasn't trying to dominate him or control him. The human was offering something the syndicate never had, respect, the respect of seeing him as more than a weapon. It was the most dangerous gift anyone had ever given him, because now he wanted more of it. Arrived exactly 37 hours later, felt her presence before her ship even landed. They had trained together, fought together, killed together for 5 years before being assigned separate territories. She was the only being in the galaxy who matched his skill. She would show no mercy, especially not to a compromised asset. Had prepared as best he could. He'd mapped every exit from the colony, planned 17 different escape routes, calculated combat scenarios, but deep down he knew the truth. In a direct fight they were equals, and equals meant unpredictable outcomes. Had insisted on helping despite being helpless in a fight between two. The human had contacted his friends, called in favors. 3 people had arrived that morning. Was an engineer, thin, nervous, brilliant with technology. He'd started setting up sensor nets and alarms around the colony perimeter. Was a doctor, calm, capable. She'd converted a storage room into an emergency medical station. She looked at without fear, which unsettled him almost as much as friendliness. Minyu was a pilot, old. He'd seen combat and survived. He was positioning his ship for a quick escape if needed. This is foolish, told. You should evacuate the colony, will not limit collateral damage. And leave you to face her alone, was checking supplies, not happening. I am designed for this, you are not. Maybe that's exactly why you need us, said. You know how to fight, we know how to survive, there's a difference. Didn't understand the distinction. Fighting and surviving seemed the same to him, but he was learning that humans saw the world differently than he did. They found meaning in strange places. Ship landed at the public dock. She emerged slowly, deliberately, 4 arms carrying weapons. Her armor was matte black, absorbing light. She scanned the colony with the same cold efficiency recognized in himself, or what he used to be. She walked directly toward the maintenance sector where waited. No stealth, no tactics, just absolute confidence. Stepped out to meet her. The colonists had evacuated this area. Whatever happened next, it would be violent. Stopped 10 meters away. They stared at each other. She said, her voice was exactly as he remembered, flat, emotionless, perfect. The syndicate is disappointed. 847 successful contracts. Then one human breaks you. How? He showed me there were questions worth asking. Questions are weakness, we are weapons. Weapons do not question, they execute. She drew her blades. I have 2 contracts, I will fulfill both. I will not let you kill him. Then you will die first, appropriate. You are always slightly inferior. She attacked. The fight was brutal. They moved faster than human eyes could follow. 4 arms each, striking and blocking in patterns drilled into muscle memory. They had sparred thousands of times. They knew each other's every move. But something was different, realized it after the first 30 seconds. He was holding back, not much, just a fraction. But in a fight between equals, fractions mattered. Why was he holding back? Because he didn't want to kill. That thought would have been impossible a week ago. Now it was his reality. He had changed, and change made him vulnerable. Pressed her advantage. Her blade cut across his shoulder, then his leg. Small wounds, but they added up. She was winning. You have gone soft, said. The human infected you with weakness. He showed me there is more than this. There is nothing more than this. We are purpose-given form. Accept your failure, accept your death. She moved in for a killing strike, blocked but barely. He was losing, not because he was weaker, because he was divided. Part of him still operated on training. Part of him was this new thing had awakened. The parts fought each other. Then appeared. The human ran from behind cover carrying something heavy. Engineering equipment. He threw it into the fight, not at the ground between them. It exploded into electricity. A shock net, not enough to stop but enough to disrupt, and both jumped back. Stay out of this, human snarled. Your death comes next. I don't think so, said. He was breathing hard, terrified but standing his ground. Listen to me, you don't have to do this. I have my contract. You have programming, corrected. There's a difference, figured it out, you can too. Is compromised, weak, defective. Is learning to be free, said. You can learn too, you're more than what they made you, you're a person, you can choose. Choice is irrelevant. Is it? Gestured at. He chose not to kill me. Then he chose to save an entire colony. Then he chose to stand here and fight you even though he doesn't want to. Every choice made him stronger, not weaker. Can't you see that? Paused, it was barely a second, but saw it. A flicker of something in her eyes, doubt, question, the same crack that had formed in him. The syndicate would replace you, said, but her voice had lost some of its certainty. They would send others. Then we'll face them together, said, all of us. Because that's what people do, we don't have to be weapons, we can be something better. What is better than perfection? Being alive, said simply. Really alive, feeling, thinking, choosing, making mistakes and learning from them, having friends, having purpose you decide for yourself. That's better than perfection, that's being real. Watched process this. He knew her training was fighting against these concepts, the same way his had fought, but's words were like cracks in armor. Once they started, they spread. They will send more assassins, said. They will never stop. I know, said, but I would rather die free than live as a slave. That is my choice. Looked between them, saw the internal war playing out, conditioning versus curiosity, purpose versus possibility. He knew that war intimately now. Finally lowered her weapons. I cannot complete this contract, she said. The words seemed to cause her physical pain. I do not understand why, but I cannot. That's called conscience, said gently. It's uncomfortable at first, but you get used to it. What do I do now? Asked. She sounded lost, understood that feeling. You come with us, offered. We're probably going to run. The syndicate won't stop with just you, but we'll figure it out together. That's what friends do. Friends, repeated the word like it was foreign. It was. Yeah, smiled. Friends, beings who choose to help each other. No contracts, no payment, just because they care. It's a human thing, but I think anyone can learn it. Looked at, you truly believe this human. He saved me, said. Not my life, me, the person underneath the weapon. I did not know that person existed until he showed me. And you submit to him. The galaxy's top killer submits to a human. Not submission, corrected. Choice. I choose to listen to his wisdom. I choose to value his judgment. I choose to follow someone who sees me as more than a weapon. That is not weakness. That is the strongest thing I have ever done. Was quiet for a long time. Then she deactivated her armor systems, the universal sign of standing down. The syndicate will send a fleet. When they realize 2 assets have gone compromised, they will consider it a catastrophic failure. They will sterilize this entire sector. How long do we have? Asked. 3 days, perhaps 4 if we are fortunate. Then we have 3 days to make a plan, said with forced optimism. You know their tactics, you know systems. Mean you can fly us out if needed, keeps us alive, I'll think of something, that's what humans do, we improvise. Looked at this small group. A human cargo hauler, an engineer, a doctor, a pilot, 2 compromised assassins. Against the might of the syndicate they were nothing. They should run, hide, disperse. But was right about one thing, together they were something. Not much, but something. And something was more than had felt in his entire existence. We need a defensible position, said. Somewhere we can control the approach vectors. I know a place, Minyu spoke up. Old mining station, deep in an asteroid field, hard to find, harder to attack. Then that is where we go, decided. He looked at, will you come? Stared at him, then at the others. I do not understand what I am feeling, she admitted. It is uncomfortable. That's called hope, said. Also fear, probably some confusion. Welcome to having emotions. It gets easier, sort of. I will come, said finally. I wish to understand this thing you call freedom, even if it kills me. It might, admitted, but at least you'll die as yourself, not as someone's weapon. They prepared to leave the colony that night. The colonists were grateful but confused. Nara hugged goodbye. She tried to thank but couldn't find the words. He understood. He was still learning words too. As they boarded Minyu's ship, felt something new. Not fear, not doubt, something lighter, something dangerous, something called hope. The mining station floated in the asteroid field like a forgotten tomb. Old, rusted, but defensible. Minyu guided his ship through the debris field with practiced skill, watched the asteroids pass and calculated trajectories. Any pursuing fleet would have to navigate carefully. That gave them an advantage. Small but real. They spent 2 days fortifying the station, rigged sensor arrays to give early warning, stockpiled medical supplies. Minyu prepared the ship for rapid escape, and mapped defensive positions and attack patterns. Organized everything, not through commands but through conversation. He asked questions, listened to answers, found ways to make everyone's skills fit together. watched him work and marveled. The human had no physical power, yet everyone followed his lead naturally. On the second night, found alone in the observation room, the human was staring at the stars again. He did that when he was thinking. "You should rest," said. "Can't sleep," admitted. "Keep thinking about all the ways this could go wrong." "That is tactical planning. I do it constantly." "Yeah, but you're designed for combat. I'm a cargo hauler who accidentally started a revolution." Laughed without humor. "How did this become my life?" "You chose to see me as a person," said. "That choice created consequences." "Good consequences, though. I met you. We're helping people become free. That matters." Paused. "I just wish I knew what I was doing." "You know enough, more than enough." Sat beside him. The chair creaked under his weight. "I have fought for 15 years. I have never had doubt about my purpose. But in 1 week you gave me something the Syndicate never could." "What's that?" "A reason to fight that I chose myself." Looked at him, really looked. "You've changed, you know. When we met you barely spoke. Now you're having conversations, sharing feelings. That's huge." "It is uncomfortable." "Welcome to being alive," smiled. "The discomfort means you're growing." They sat in silence for a while, then asked the question that had been building in him. "When the Syndicate comes, we may not survive. Does that frighten you?" "Terrifies me," said honestly. "But I'd rather die fighting for freedom than live as a coward. Maybe that's stupid, maybe it's brave, probably both." "It is human," said. "And I am beginning to understand why humans dominate the galaxy despite being physically weak. You have something we were designed not to have." "What's that?" "Hope, and the stubbornness to believe in it even when logic says you should not." Laughed. This time it was genuine. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about humans. Usually people call us reckless or emotional." "Those are the same qualities. Perspective changes the meaning." "When did you become philosophical?" "When I started thinking instead of just executing orders." Flexed his 4 hands. "This is new to me, all of it, talking, feeling, choosing. Sometimes I want to go back to the simplicity of just following commands." "But you won't." "No," agreed, "because simple is not the same as right." The next morning, sensors detected incoming ships. 4 Syndicate cruisers, more than enough firepower to destroy the station. They would arrive in 6 hours. Everyone gathered in the command center. The mood was tense but determined. 4 cruisers, Minu said, studying the readings. "They're not taking chances. Standard Syndicate formation. They'll surround us and bombard from range." "Can we run?" asked. "They'd chase us down," said. "They want to make an example. 2 compromised assets plus the human who corrupted them. They will not let this stand." "So we fight," said. "We will die," stated simply. 4 ships with full crews against 7 beings in a deteriorating station. The mathematics are unfavorable." "Then we change the math," said. He was packing, thinking. "They expect a direct fight. What if we don't give them one?" "Explain," prompted. "The asteroid field, it's dense, hard to navigate. What if we use that, make them chase us through the debris, use the environment as a weapon?" "They have superior sensors," pointed out. "They can track us." "What if they can't?" spoke up. "I could rig a signal jammer, flood the area with interference, make their sensors useless. They'd have to rely on visual tracking." "Which means they'd have to navigate carefully," Minu added, catching on. "Slow them down, split them up. And while they're distracted navigating, we hit them," finished. "Quick strikes, then disappear into the field, guerrilla tactics." "Can that work?" asked. "Against traditional tactics, no," said. "But if they believe we will fight conventionally, they will position for bombardment. When we do the unexpected, we create opportunity." "That's very human thinking," observed. She almost sounded approving. "I learned from the best," looked at. They spent the next 5 hours preparing, built jammers and distributed them throughout the asteroid field. Minyu plotted navigation routes through the densest debris, prepared emergency medical protocols, and armed themselves and reviewed attack patterns. Coordinated everything, kept everyone focused, made sure they worked together. As the syndicate ships entered sensor range, found himself next to one last time. They stood at the airlock, preparing to deploy. "We may not survive this," said. "I know. You should leave, take Minyu's ship and run. The syndicate wants in me. You are only a target because of us." "I'm not leaving my friends," said firmly. "We started this together. We finish it together." "Why?" asked. "Why do you care this much about me? I am a weapon. I have killed hundreds. I do not deserve your loyalty." Turn to face him fully. Everyone deserves a chance to be more than their worst moment. You chose to change, to grow, to be free. That's worth fighting for. That's worth dying for if necessary. Something broke in, or maybe it finally healed. All the confusion of the past week crystallized into perfect clarity. He knelt before, all four hands placed on the ground, the gesture of complete respect. "I have served the syndicate for 15 years, said. "They gave me purpose but no meaning. You showed me the difference. If I am to serve again, let it be someone who sees me as more than a weapon." Looked uncomfortable. "Stand up, I don't want a servant." "Then what do you want?" "A friend, an equal, someone who makes their own choices." "Then teach me how," said. "I have spent my entire existence being told what to do. For the first time I want to choose my path, but I do not know how, so I choose to follow your wisdom until I understand my own. That is not submission of the weak. That is trust, and trust is something I have never given before." Helped him stand. "You're trusting the wrong person. I'm making this up as I go." "No," said. "You are doing something far more difficult. You are being honest, being kind, being hopeful in a galaxy that rewards none of those things. That takes more strength than anything I have ever done." "We're going to die, aren't we?" said quietly. "Probably," admitted. "But I will die free, and I will die protecting something I chose to value. That is more than I ever thought possible." Approached them. "The ships are in position. It is time." "Together?" asked. "Together," and said simultaneously. They deployed into the asteroid field, activated the jammers. The syndicate sensors went blind. The ships slowed, confused. Their formations broke as they tried to navigate the debris. And struck like lightning, they boarded the nearest ship through an airlock. The crew never expected an attack from within the field. 30 seconds. That's all it took to disable the ship's weapons. They moved to the next ship, then the next, coordinated from the station, guiding them through the asteroids, adjusted jammers. Minyu provided cover fire when needed. It was working. Against all odds, it was working. Not because they were stronger, but because they worked together, because they had something to fight for beyond orders. The fourth ship realized what was happening, changed tactics, fired not at the station but at the asteroids themselves, creating debris, chaos, cutting off escape routes. An explosion, close, too close, was thrown into an asteroid. His armor cracked. He saw his ship taking damage, spinning, losing control. Without thinking, pushed off the asteroid, flew through space toward the ship, caught it, used his own body to shield it from debris. Pain exploded through him, his armor shattered, blood froze in the vacuum. But the ship stabilized, lived. That was enough. Appeared, grabbed, pulled him into an emergency airlock. They tumbled into safety as rushed to treat his wounds. "Why did you do that?" demanded. "You could have died." "I chose to," said through the pain. "That is what freedom means, choosing what matters. Matters, all of you matter, more than my survival." He looked at who was pale but alive. "Did I do well?" Grabbed his hand. "You did perfect." And for the first time in his existence, smiled. Woke 3 days later in a medical bed. His body ached in ways he didn't know were possible, had worked miracles keeping him alive. Biology was resilient, but even they had limits. Sat in a chair beside the bed, reading something on a data pad. When he noticed eyes open, he smiled with relief. "Welcome back. You've been out for 72 hours. The syndicate ships," his voice was rough. "Destroyed or disabled. We salvaged what we could. You're a hero, again." "I did what was necessary." "You saved my life. That's more than necessary, that's friendship." Set down the pad. "But there's something you need to know. While you were unconscious, something happened, something big." Over the next hour, explained. Their fight had been broadcast, had rigged the station to send out a signal. The entire battle had been recorded and transmitted across multiple networks. Millions had watched the galaxy's top killers choose freedom over orders, choose to protect rather than destroy. The response was massive. 37 compromised assets had contacted them. Other assassins, soldiers, enforcers, all questioning their purpose, all wanting to understand what it had found, all looking for a way out. "They're calling you the first free," said. "The first to choose their own path. You started something, a revolution." "I only wanted to not kill you," said. "That's how revolutions start. One person making one choice, then another person, then another. Now it's a movement." The door opened, entered with, they both looked exhausted but alive. "More ships arrived while you slept," reported. "Not syndicate, independent vessels carrying refugees, more compromised assets. They all want sanctuary, want to learn how to be free." "Where will they go?" asked. "Here," said. "We're converting the station, making it a haven, a place where weapons can learn to be people. The syndicate will send more forces." "Let them come," said with surprising steel in his voice. "We're not alone anymore. We have numbers, we have a cause, and we have something the syndicate doesn't understand." "What is that?" "People fighting for themselves are stronger than people fighting for orders." Over the next weeks, the station transformed. More refugees arrived daily. The asteroid field became a maze of defensive positions. What started as 7 people became 70, then 200, then 500. They weren't just, other species came. Soldiers tired of meaningless wars, enforcers questioning unjust laws, anyone seeking something better than violence. Found himself in an unexpected role, teacher. Others wanted to learn what he'd learned, how to think for yourself, how to feel, how to choose. He didn't feel qualified, but insisted that made him perfect for it. "You're figuring it out yourself," explained. "That makes you relatable. You can show them it's possible because you're living proof." So taught, not combat. He taught them how to ask questions, how to recognize their own thoughts versus their programming, how to understand emotions. It was harder than any fight he'd ever faced. One day, a young named approached him, fresh from the syndicate, only 43 kills, still mostly programmed. "I do not understand," said. "The syndicate says you betrayed our purpose, but I watched your broadcasts. You seemed stronger, not weaker. How is this possible?" Thought carefully before answering. "The syndicate gave us purpose, but purpose without meaning is just slavery. Here, you choose your own meaning. That makes you truly strong." "But I do not know what meaning I want." "Neither did I," admitted. "I am still learning, but that is acceptable. Growth is a process, not a destination." "Will you teach me?" Looked at this young assassin. Saw himself 2 months ago, empty, following orders, believing purpose was enough. "Yes," said, "but I cannot teach you what to become, only how to figure it out yourself. The rest is your choice." Nodded slowly. "Choice, that word still frightens me." "Good, that means you understand its weight." The syndicate did send more ships, 3 separate fleets over 2 months. Each time, they found themselves outmaneuvered by defenders who fought not because they were told to, but because they believed in something. The difference was significant. After the third failed assault, the attacks stopped. The syndicate realized they'd created a bigger problem. Every attack just proved the Free were legitimate. Every failure recruited more defectors. Called it strategic victory through existing. Called it winning by being worth fighting for. 6 months after that first night in the cargo bay, stood with on the observation deck of what was now called Haven Station. Below them, hundreds of beings worked together, building, learning, living. "Did you ever imagine this?" asked, "when you were hunting me?" "No," said honestly. "I imagined only the completion of my contract. This reality is beyond anything my programming could conceive." "Are you happy?" Considered the question. Happiness was still a new concept, but he thought about his days now, teaching others, training with, helping with repairs, talking with about philosophy, sitting with and just existing. "I am," Content said, "and content is something I have never felt before, so perhaps that is happiness." "It gets better," promised. "You're still learning, give it time." "I have time now. Before I only had contracts. Time is better." A group of colonists approached. Nara was among them. She joined Haven Station a month ago, helping establish living quarters. She said, less nervous around him now, "We're having a celebration tonight. Festival food from different worlds, music, dancing, you should come." "I do not dance." "Neither did you eat for pleasure," pointed out. "Then you discovered kimchi. Maybe you'll discover dancing too." Wanted to refuse, dancing seemed illogical, but he remembered what taught him, try new things, experience life, make memories. "I will attend," said. Nara smiled and left with the others, watched them go with satisfaction. "You're good at this," observed. "At what?" "Leading, people follow you naturally. You never command, yet everyone listens. How?" Shrugged, "I just treat people like people. Ask questions. Listen to answers. Try to understand their perspective. That's not leading. That's just being decent." "It is more than the syndicate ever taught me." "The syndicate taught you to be a weapon. I'm trying to teach you to be human. Well, not human exactly, but you know what I mean." "I do," paused. "Earlier you asked if I was happy. I have a question for you now." "Shoot." "Are you happy? You could have kept hauling cargo, living a simple life. Instead you have this complex responsibility. Do you regret it?" Thought for a long moment. "Sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes I miss the simplicity. But then I see you teaching or laughing at jokes or all these people building something better, and I think, this matters. This is worth the complexity." "Thank you," said. "For what?" "For seeing me as more than my worst moments, for believing I could change, for showing me what freedom actually means." Looked at directly. "You asked me once why I submitted to you. That was the wrong word. I did not submit. I chose. I chose to trust your wisdom because you earned it. I chose to follow your example because it gave me hope. That is not submission. That is respect." "You're going to make me emotional," said, but he was smiling. "Emotions are acceptable now. You taught me that too." That night the celebration was loud and chaotic and wonderful. Tried dancing. He was terrible at it. Everyone laughed, including him. It felt good. Found him later, sitting on a crate watching others enjoy themselves. "A child asked me something today," said, sitting beside him. "She wanted to know why you listened to me. Why the galaxy's most dangerous killer takes advice from a cargo hauler. You know what I told her?" "What?" "I said because you're strong enough to admit you don't have all the answers. Because real strength isn't about who you can beat in a fight. It's about who you become when you stop fighting." "That is wise." "I'm learning too," admitted. "From you, from everyone here. We're all figuring this out together." Watched the celebration. Former assassins dancing with refugees. Engineers teaching soldiers how to build instead of destroy. Different species sharing food and stories. It was messy and imperfect and alive. "The syndicate will not stop," said. "They will see this as a threat." "Probably, but we'll handle it together." "Together," agreed. That word means more now than it did before. Because now you understand what it actually means. Yes, flexed his four hands. Once they had only known violence. Now they knew how to help, how to build, how to be gentle. I have killed 847 beings. I cannot undo that, but perhaps I can prevent others from walking that same path. That's all any of us can do, be better than we were, help others do the same, build something worth protecting. Is that what we are building here, something worth protecting? Gestured at the celebration, at the laughter and friendship and hope. What do you think? Thought about his journey, from perfect weapon to imperfect person, from following orders to making choices, from killing targets to protecting friends. It had been the hardest transition of his life, but also the most valuable. I think we are building something the Syndicate can never destroy, said. Because they can destroy ships and stations, but they cannot destroy what we have learned. They cannot destroy freedom once you understand what it means. Now who's being wise? Grinned. I learned from an excellent teacher. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their community celebrate life instead of death, watching people choose joy over programming, watching weapons learn to be people. Somewhere in the galaxy, the Syndicate was probably planning their next move. Somewhere, new threats were emerging. Somewhere, violence still ruled. But here in this asteroid field on this converted mining station, something else was growing. Something quiet but powerful. Something called hope. And the galaxy's former top killer had found his new purpose. Not to serve, not to submit, but to protect this fragile, beautiful thing that had shown him. To protect freedom, to protect choice, to protect the right of every being to become more than what they were made to be. That was a purpose worth choosing. That was a meaning worth fighting for. And for the first time in his existence, was exactly where he wanted to be.